Game Pass to start the new year is absolutely cooking. I'm Sunny here at Xbox Central, and we start this off with a game coming today in Road 96. With truth be told, this is coming back to Game Pass. Now, the cool thing about this game is it takes place in the summer of 1996, so a game in the 90s. And this is a game with an evolving story that's really driven by that story element, and it sees you taking the road in which every mile you finish, you make these meaningful choices that change the entire complexion of your gameplay. Some of these can be exploration or just human encounters that turn good or bad. Nonetheless though, the goal it seems is to get away from this oppressive ruling state. And since this game launched in 2021, the game has received, no joke, over 16,000 very positive reviews. So this has been a very well loved game. This one lands on January 7th on cloud, console, and PC. Finally guys, one of the more unique farming titles is coming to Game Pass this month in Lightyear Frontier. Here you settle your land on an alien planet filled with crazy creatures, unique crops, and even interesting neighbors. Now, one thing about this game that I really feel is just fascinating is there's no combat apparently. It's about a low stress game that's, you're having a good time where you're managing your farm, you're growing these alien crops, you're exploring a mysterious planet, and you get to upgrade your mech with a plethora of tools and upgrades to make the farming and getting around much easier. And if you guys love the farming aspects, as I said, you'll be growing these really cool, crazy, unique alien crops. Of course, you're also building a unique alien settlement as well. Lightyear Frontier lands on Xbox Series X and S on January 8th. With that, if you guys are enjoying this video, give me a thumbs up as it helps the algorithm a ton to help us find new Xbox gamers. Now, the game My Time at Sandrock is already on Game Pass, but it now lands on Game Pass Standard. And honestly, it's one of the better life sim games to have dropped in recent memory. You can build relationships, you can farm, you can celebrate the holidays. There's even dungeon crawling, you can take on quests and do so much more. Since this game released at the very end of 2023, it has garnered over 21,000 very positive reviews, and this is absolutely worth looking at if you love these life sim games. This one does land on January 8th. Now, in yet another builder title, we have a Robinhood Sherwood Builders. This is a full action RPG, but with the element of full base building. And as you know, when you're Robin Hood, the goal is to thwart tyranny and injustice by stealing and hurting the rich and giving to the local struggling people. Now, to do this, you can fight, you can craft, you can hunt, and of course you'll steal your way to being the hero. And with this being a building game, you actually are in charge of managing the village of people you're helping. The game in a way is a sandbox, as it lets you help the settlement in any way you want, whether that is hunting or that is crafting. But of course, stealing from the nobles is probably going to be the really big fun here. I know that's what I'm going to do. Robinhood lands on Xbox Game Pass on Xbox Series X and S on January 8th. Now, you might not be able to believe this because I honestly can't. We have yet another life sim title coming in Rolling Hills, only this one is way different than the rest on this list because you're actually a chef running your own restaurant in a cozy village where you manage the shop in its entirety while making friends, and you'll do things like purchase ingredients and hopefully making some amazing sushi along the way. If you're like me and you're a terrible cook and your only chance to whip up something good is through a video game like this, Rolling Hills will be your jam. This one lands on January 8th on consoles. So a game that's coming out in the second half of January that I'm looking forward to on Game Pass is Eternal Strands. And you may have heard about this game. It's been one that's been heavily compared to Immortals Phoenix Rising. And yeah, the vibe's a little bit similar at first glance, but once you look past the kind of the looks, the aesthetics, the gameplay is actually pretty different. It's all about exploring a massive open world however you want, but with complete freedom to take on challenges in your own way, kind of like maybe Zelda games. Now, I really dig the combat from what I've seen so far. You get to use all kinds of magical abilities like freezing enemies solid, setting them on fire, or throwing stuff around you with like these telekinesis powers. And there are some really huge bosses scattered across the map, so do expect some pretty epic fights. This one's coming out as a day one Game Pass game on January 28th, so we won't have to wait too long. The Sniper Elite franchise has been one of my favorites. We're getting a new one, guys, a day one Game Pass one in Sniper Elite Resistance. And I've said this a couple times, this one's coming to Game Pass, but guys, this one really feels like it's taking the series to a brand new, level. It's coming in with a new setting, fresh characters, and a new story. But don't worry, guys, that intense sniper gameplay we all love is not only going to still be here, but it's coming in with some much needed added improvements. The fan favorite X-ray kill cams, of course, are going to still be in there, but guys, it looks like it's as brutal as ever, and it's also coming in with a ton of authentic World War II weapons to mess around with. Also, the exciting part here too is the game really allows you to play the entire entire campaign with a buddy in co-op mode if you want to do that, and it makes it 100 times better in my opinion. But if not, even the solo aspect of this game has always been insanely fun. Resistance drops as the day one Game Pass release on January 30th. So we have Citizen Sleeper 2 Star Wars Vector, and guys, this game's been talked about a lot for some time. If you love the first game, you're gonna love the sequel. It's bringing back that same awesome gameplay with a ton of new content. You'll be stepping into the shoes of another android stuck on the Hellion Star, but this time you're in a different part of it, and the game brings on fresh new characters to meet, brand new skills to master, and a dice system that has been completely revamped. The world is also getting much bigger as well. There's more stations to explore, each packed with unique communities, factions, and organizations, and this means it will be packed with errands from different people. And for those who are wondering if you needed to play the first game to play this second game, no, absolutely not. You will be getting a fresh new experience here, but it's going to be one that's not necessary to play the old one to understand what's going on with this one. So this is one of those games that I absolutely recommend. This one's another day one Game Pass release, and it's set to drop on January 31st. So this one is a rumor, and we're going to keep it in that rumor box, but the classic Diablo 1 title, the one that kind of got redone, remastered, might be headed to Game Pass. This leak comes from a well-known person who's been very reliable with sources for Game Pass news in the past, and I'm not really surprised because Activision has been making their way to putting a lot of their games on Game Pass. This one's going to take you back to the Kingdom of Kandurus, where you're going to be playing as your chosen class while you battle through monsters through 16 highly challenging levels. This is a rather cool surprise for any of those who are really big Diablo fans. I'm actually a pretty big one myself, but I never got into the classic one. I started with Diablo 3. This one might not be available though to the lower Game Pass tiers since a lot of games aren't, but according to the leaks, this one is expected to join Game Pass this month, and just like Diablo 4, this one will be available on Game Pass via Battle.net. So maybe at the time of this announcement of this video it'll already be out, so I'll go ahead and update it if this has already been announced. But I'm looking forward to this because I've never gotten to play this Diablo one, and I'm really excited to try it out if it does head to Game Pass. Now another game that was rumored for Game Pass from that same person is EA Sports UFC 5. This one actually released back in 2023, and this one packs quite a punch, guys. There's a ton of action for anyone who loves intense filled fights. Being the latest edition, the game features stunning visuals, dynamic facial damage, and a lot of detail. The game does come jam-packed with all your favorite UFC fighters, or if you fancy maybe your own character that you create from the ground up, you can climb all the way up and really just take on and become like the champion. There's definitely different modes that you can really get into that'll keep you hooked for hours on end. This one's a good one. I'm really excited if we get it because I've never gotten to play one of these UFC games, so I really hope this one does come to Game Pass sometime later this month. So we have two games that are coming to Game Pass this 2025. We're not sure when. This first one's called Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo, and I probably pronounced that wrong. This game's a pretty unique one with its premise. It's basically a puzzle adventure game where you're tasked to help out souls stuck in limbo, and supposedly it isn't some spooky version of the afterlife. The game's really all colorful and full of charm. You will be spending your time talking to poor souls, and then you help them face the regrets and guilt so they can finally move on. So yeah, do expect a lot of time like chatting with these characters and solving some creative puzzles to help them. Some of the stories might even be emotional, maybe even some others funny or even lighthearted. We don't have a release date for this one, like I said, but it is coming sometime to Game Pass in 2025. Our next game is Little Rocket Lab. It's a rather unique combination of factory building and maybe like Stardew Valley, and I know how that sounds, but trust me, it looks really fun. This game mixes cozy vibes of small town life with the thrill of being an engineer. You can chill out farming or making friends or maybe even helping the townsfolk, but at the same time, you can also take care of your factories to build all kinds of different stuff, even things like rockets. But besides that, you will be busy gathering resources, running errands, and doing some fun quests around town. If this turns out to be anything like maybe a Stardew Valley type of game, it's really going to eat up a lot of our time. If you guys do have those hours to spare, definitely going to want to keep an eye out on this one. It looks like a good one. It's dropping as a day one Game Pass release sometime in 2025, though we have no date yet. And with that, guys, Microsoft is bringing some new rewards via Game Pass Quests. Now, firstly, Xbox Game Pass Quests are finally open to PC Game Pass players as well, which they were previously limited to just the Ultimate members. So if you're on PC, you can finally start earning those rewards. They've also made these quests easier and more rewarding. You can earn points through daily, weekly, and monthly streaks just by playing games for a certain period of time. The bigger the streaks, the more rewards you do earn. And yes, they brought back these weekly streaks as well. So the more weeks you play the games, the bigger the point multipliers you earn. So 2 times after like 2 weeks, 3x for 3 weeks, or right up to 4x. Plus the daily PC quest has also been rebalanced to give you 10 points each day that you play, while the weekly console bonus is now set to 150 points. These changes do start taking into effect on January 7th. And with that, guys, we have the games leaving Game Pass this January. Nothing too crazy this month, but they are leaving on the 15th. But you are going to want to grab these and play these before they go.